So, look, this is going to be interactive because if I'm going to sit here and talk, I'll last about 5 minutes. So you better ask me some questions. But I will share how I started in this business almost 19 years ago. And that scares the hell out of me saying that. Right, Linda? Because
we're 15.
You're not far behind me.
No.
But anyway, when I started, contrary to popular belief, some of you might notice, but I am an introvert. So for me to be out there talking with a lot of people was very difficult. But in the day, that was really before internet marketing. What other way was there? I didn't know any other way. And coming out of Fast Start, I knew that I had to be out and about in the community. So I joined the chamber. And some of you might have heard this story, but my first chamber meeting, I was scared out of my mind. I think there were 25 people there. But I didn't know anybody. And no one took me around. No one introduced me to anybody. So I bravely walked up to someone and shook their hands. And that's where it all started. And, to make a long story short, from there, I quickly became, I was on the Christmas party committee. I became Santa Claus, which was a lot of fun, which was great to market as Santa Claus because people didn't know who I was. So there I was in a costume, dancing with all these people and talking with them. And people got to know Santa Claus. And then at meetings after that, when I introduced myself as Santa Claus and became more familiar with everyone, the best part about that was that I felt more comfortable. So I became more comfortable talking with people, met a lot of people, became chairman of the chamber. We started a leadership process through the chamber. I can go on and on how powerful that was. But I think now if you come into this business as an introvert, I guess you can make it marketing through the internet. But that's not, I do such a minimal amount of that. My marketing is still being known in the public sphere in Delaware and particularly Central Delaware. Questions about what I just said? Nothing.
Well,
crickets.
Crickets. So the first few times you went out and shook hands with groups that you didn't know, it's like, how did that, the way you described it, it started to really blossom from that point on. Did you go through, what kind of challenges did you hit?
The challenge was my fear. Yeah. And again, having, my career, and I was a salesperson, but when I sold to people I knew, and even the people I didn't know knew I was going to be calling on them. So I didn't have to meet strangers per se. This was meeting strangers and people I had no clue who they were. The challenge was me being comfortable. I would say it took a year for that.
Wow.
But I forced myself.
Yeah.
The other thing I forced myself to do, and let's see, who had Fast Army? Just Tom on this call.
Yep. My mentor, that's why I'm listening.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you. So when I started that, I created, I didn't do the point system as some of you might have heard, but I made it my business to have 10 meetings a week. No fewer than 10. And I did that for 6-7 months. And that built business pretty quickly. I know a lot of people do not create that type of environment. How did I get those people? Anywhere I could. From some of those chamber mixers, from people I knew. Please introduce me. Some of it was cold calling, not a lot. But, one meeting leads to another. Who do you know that I should speak to? Nothing more than that. So quickly, I would say by the third month, I was having 10 appointments a week. And all of you on this call know if you have 10 appointments a week, you're going to get business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was my discipline. Not, you think, well, that's a lot. I didn't think it was a lot.
No.
That was 1 cup of coffee in the morning, maybe lunch. That was it.
Yeah.
And what I learned for me, my personality is, once I meet someone and I'm face to face with them, and all of you have spoken with me, you know I'm free and easy. That's the way I like to be with people. See, in a chamber meeting where there's 150 people, that's uncomfortable. But once I can be face to face with someone, I'm good to go. So Phil, I hope that answers your question. It wasn't very long where I became much more comfortable going into that meeting of 150 people and picking out somebody to speak to. And then, of course, in a few years, people started coming up to me. And that's how it is today. I can't, when I go to a chamber meeting now, I can't speak to more than 10 people because I'm pulled and tugged and yanked, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
That took a lot of time.
Alan, you know, those on this call, obviously you all know me. I've never been classified as an introvert in my life, but so I didn't have the same issues that Alan has. But an example that I've used for those people who are introverted, a story that I have told more than several times. There was an affiliate named Becky Morris from somewhere out in Illinois, I think, Indiana, somewhere out there. And she was very introverted and very shy. And so when she started in this business and went to a chamber event or whatever it was, in order to overcome her introvertedness, she referred to herself as a wall scraper, which I love that term. I absolutely love that term. She would walk into the room and she would look for those people who were standing maybe by themselves, up again with their backs to the wall, and she said to herself, okay, those people are more introverted and shy than I am, so why don't I go talk to them? And that was her methodology for overcoming, you know, what she perceived as a negative, and that she really needed to be out there and meeting people to get along in this business. So I've told that story on numerous occasions because I think it's absolutely a perfect example of how you can overcome those type of things if you are a little bit on the shy or uncomfortable side.
Yeah, I mean, I know Becky, and I know that story, and for me, it was forcing myself to going up to somebody and saying, "Wow, are you just as uncomfortable as I am here?" And then you start the conversation, and that worked. And most people there, not most, there are a number of people at any of these meetings, doesn't matter what it is, that are uncomfortable. So I was uncomfortable with them, but we learned to be comfortable together. Not that they became a client, it didn't matter. It was practice. Right. All this is practice, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. But again, the discipline to create a lot of meetings, I think, is still important. And even at this point in time, when I find my business is slowing down, what I do is I pick up the phone or send an email to a client, and I create an appointment. Obviously I've created a book of clients over the years. It's, extensive. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's catch up. Sometimes that leads to more business. Sometimes it doesn't. But, these are people that I trust and trust me, and, it's good. Who can I speak to? And go ahead.
If I may, that's,
sure.
I like the stories that you guys just told on that, because I go to chamber meetings and I started kind of falling off going to them. And I'm much better than I used to be way back when, as far as going up and shaking people's hands. So apparently I'm called, according to some, I'm an ambivert, kind of in between the two.
Yeah.
And but what the challenge I'm finding in a lot of the meetings is, I was thinking about it as you spoke, is that I'm gravitating towards people I already know.
Yes.
And shake the hands and talk, a little bit of small talk, but I'm not going to those meetings with a specific goal. And I'm making a huge mental note. It's like, what the heck? What a wasted opportunity. It
is. And don't think I don't do the same. Well, at this point in time, I know most everybody there. So, for a lot of reasons, but which is good. It's kind of weird. But I agree with you, Phil. It's that discipline to say, what do I want to get out of this? Do I want to meet 4 new people? The other thing is, and I don't know if you guys are good at this, but I became good very quickly from everything I heard from some of the veterans. I did not say a whole hell of a lot about what I did when I met somebody. I quickly diverted to them. You know, what do you do? Well, it depends. I don't know how many times I've answered it that way, you know, or handed them my card and say, look, I'd love to talk to you about it. Let's have an appointment. My whole goal was to sit down and talk with someone. So I would not get in a conversation.
People don't find that off-putting. Well, it depends.
Not at all. Because you know what it does? They go, They do. Instead of me saying, well, I'm a real estate agent, like 500 people in the 150 people room.
Right.
You know, and they're all the same, or I sell insurance. That's another big one.
Yeah.
Great. You know, you can say whatever your 20-second is, or your 5-second introduction is. Me, I would say all kinds of things. It depends. You know, I have said I'm a business coach. I'm a coach. I'm an entrepreneurial architect. You know, I make all kinds of weird stuff up. And I want people to remember me. So I tend to say things that are totally off the wall to get them to smile. And then I ask them about themselves. And again, most people will talk about themselves. And then you got the hook in. So just pull the hook. You know, I'd really love to sit down with you because I know so many people in this town that I can refer some people to you. Would you like to sit down and I can help you gain some business?
Yeah.
Boom, done, sold, meeting.
Alan and Phil, I think one of the things to keep in mind too is because we've been now here in North Carolina for 15 years, and you know, with the chambers and extraneous other things, I know a heck of a lot of people. So if I'm going to an event, yes, there's that tendency to gravitate towards the people you already know. You know, maybe you give them a hi because you don't want to ignore them. But if you just before you walk into the room, say to yourself, I'm going to make a new friend. I think that will help you gravitate towards maybe somebody that you don't know. And if, you know, with the influx of people in southeastern North Carolina, I was at an event not that long ago, and all of a sudden I looked around the room and I went, wow, I don't know 75% of the people here because I have been focused on, you know, maybe in other areas. Yeah. So I made a point of going over and again, not even telling them what I do, just saying, you know, hi, my name is Linda Stinson. You know, I know we have not met before. What is it that you do? And get them talking first. And then if they ask me, then I tell them, you know, to Alan's point, I have used all kinds of descriptions, but just go with the attitude of making a new friend. And that will help you gravitate away from all those folks that you already know.
Hey, Alan,
so Linda,
how many meetings you run nowadays?
I'm sorry?
I was asking Alan, how many meetings? If you were doing 10 meetings at the beginning, how many do you do now?
I would say about that.
Really?
But most of those, remember, are working with clients. So it's a mixture. And I kept that. So even when I started working with clients, let's say I had 3 clients, then I want to have 7 meetings. The one client meeting.
How many are face-to-face? How many of those 10 to 10? I average about 2.5 face-to-face a week because I track that crazy stuff. And
I don't track anymore, Tom. I admit it. I don't track anymore. So this is totally what I believe. Probably face-to-face.
Yeah, the face-to-face.
8 out of 10.
Oh.
8 out of 10.
You're still doing a bunch. Yeah. I do about 2.5, but I do about 3 networking sessions a week. So,
well, see, in my algorithm from the day one, I count networking meetings as a meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so,
you'll get business.
You know, I was a big BNI guy, but
yeah,
a long story for over a beer at our next session. I'll tell you why I left BNI many years ago, and gladly so. But I've become involved the last 3 years with Master Networks, which is, for us, brilliant. Imagine a networking organization that leans on education and coaching. So in every meeting, there is a training session. And it looks like it was written by me and for me, but it's not.
Alan, is this the thing that you do with your clients?
No, that's something different. I'll
Oh,
get to
all
that.
right.
So I became, again, I know a lot of people. I knew the people that bought Master Networks, Delaware and Maryland region. I became their success coach. So I get to go to all the meetings that I want. So I go to about 4 of those meetings a week, which means I'm meeting with 20, 80 entrepreneurs every week. Now, obviously, some of them have become clients.
Tell me what, I'm not familiar with Master Networks.
You know what BNI is?
Of course I do.
It's a similar style. It's only an hour long, but it's not based around food. So it's in and out. And a big part of the meeting is not only your introductions, but training. So there's like a 10-minute training. People break out into small groups and they learn about sales or whatever. This is all written. There's a university behind this. So I found that combination fascinating. They're not in all areas, guys,
Okay.
but they are growing. So I make a note to look at Master Networks and see if they're local to you. It's a lot less money than BNI and a whole lot more effective for us.
Okay.
I mean, you might have a Mary Kay person, but if you have a Mary Kay person in a Master Networks meeting, it's going to be the regional director of Mary Kay.
Oh, okay.
This is meant for entrepreneurs,
Okay.
people that own businesses.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that same question. What's Master Networking? So I don't think it's in the Carolinas, Linda, because I have not heard of that.
No, I have not. I have not either. I'll have to go do a little research on that.
Yeah.
But I'd be glad to help you put it there.
Oh,
I mean, I'm seriously, my son-in-law bought the region. My 23-year-old son-in-law bought the region from the prior owners.
Wow.
I just looked it up online, guys, and just as an easy point, there is nothing in South Carolina, North Carolina. There's a couple of them in Delaware. There's several in Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania.
There's some in Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota. Looks like maybe the Fort Myers area of Florida, San Diego, Vegas.
Oregon?
There is one up in Oregon, actually.
Oh, geez.
So you, Phil, let me see.
Why are we not seeing Gerard? Gerard, why don't we see you?
I have my camera off because I'm,
in the chat.
Because you're what?
Are you in your underwear? Where are you?
I'm at home.
At the bar.
No, yeah, I wish
the
I was at the bar.
He's at the bar. He's drinking.
That'd be nice if I was.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let me see here. There's my video for you.
Oh,
Hey, oh!
hey.
Hey, turn that shit off.
Whoa!
Yeah,
go back,
exactly.
Go back.
Phil, it's in Oregon and Southwest Washington region. The town is Tualatin.
Oh, Tualatin, yeah.
Yeah, so that just is a point of reference. But yeah, I mean, there are, once again, there are varieties around the country, and maybe we'll get some other people that might be
Hi, Dan.
interested in it.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah,
I just found it myself.
It's a growing organization, and if you can even just pop into a meeting, you'll say, oh my goodness, it literally, the training material is written for us. A lot of times people will say, did you write this, Alan? Because this is right out of the playbook, which helps us in terms of marketing substantially. So I still, I created my own networking groups that sufficed for many, many years until Master Networks came around. But I believe in being a member of a chamber in a bigger picture, and then in a smaller picture, joining a small networking group and being intimately involved with that.
Yeah.
Alan, how big are these? I guess they probably vary by region, but for instance, yours, how many people are involved?
In each chapter?
Yeah, like in the chapter that you go to.
Between 15 and 25.
Okay. That's a good size.
But there are
Yeah.
chapters in Texas with 50 members.
Wow.
So
And the meeting is still an hour?
Oh, you cannot believe
Wow.
it's run. It's a tight
Right.
ship.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I think it's right out of, to me, fail-safe leadership. You guys are busy. We're going to get you in and out of here.
Okay.
And they encourage, one-on-one meetings, obviously.
Obviously.
Right. So, outside of that, anyway, to me, that's a great platform for marketing, and I'll continue to do that. I still love doing that. I meet new people all the time. There's a lot of benefits. I don't want to, get sidetracked in that too much unless you guys have specific questions about it. I've been involved with it for 3 years. I think it's only been around 4 years.
Oh.
I know
okay.
the guy who started it,
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm looking at it here, and there's only like a handful of these regions that have been sold.
correct.
Or is it like pretty pricey, or just they not marketing it very well?
I don't think it is. I think what's happened is they changed the model from selling it like a franchise to they want it to well up naturally. Like if you got, 10 people together, here you go, you have a chapter. Instead of needing, they would give you support from Texas instead of having someone buy it and help you. So it can be done without any other help.
Gotcha.
If you're a good networker, my networking group after BNI, a group of ex-BNI people and myself put together a networking group. This was 15 years ago. And we ran until 3 years ago. For 12 years, we ran it on our own. We always had 15, 20 people. I would be president one year. We would change the presidency. So this was a group where we didn't pay the big bucks to be in it, but we did all the things.
Yeah, there've been some. There's something in our neck of the woods that kind of refugees from BNI that started something called Coastal Connections. Similar format, of course.
Yes.
But not, as you said, not the big bucks. But what I like in what you're saying about master networks is that there's always that training piece.
Every
It's
week.
not just stand up, tell who you are, because after 3 months, everybody knows who everybody else is. So you don't need to say that, unless you got something brand new coming down the pike. But to have that training piece where you've always got an educational piece it meets every week, every month. What does it do?
Once a week.
Once a week. So once a week, you got 15 minutes of something you didn't know before, kind of thing. Or a refresher on something that you knew and you really need to think about.
And even for me, Linda, going 4 times, by the 4th time, which is a Friday meeting, it'll be the 4th time I've heard that particular week's thing. But I'm still meeting with a small group of people. And each time you're debriefing something with a small group of people, it's different.
Yeah.
There are different takes on it. And I learn a lot.
Yeah.
You talk about keeping things fresh. It's a great platform for me to keep things fresh. I don't know. I would say that 75% of my clients the last few years have come from.
Okay.
So,
Tom, maybe we ought to have a discussion about, see if we can look into this from a North and a South Carolina point of view.
I can get you in with the right people that would help you do that. And, but I'd look through the website, look through the Master Networks website and look at a bunch of things. But, again, the university they have behind it's called Master Networks University. It's a lot of stuff from the guy who wrote the book with Gary Keller, $1 Million Real Estate Agent.
Oh, okay.
Forget his name. I've met him a bunch of times. I can't remember his name offhand. But, he's written a bunch of books, and he's the one that's written a lot of the material. Some of it is half-assed. But for a lot of entrepreneurs, the first time they're hearing it, we might go, oh, my goodness, I can do better. Doesn't matter, but some of it's very nice, very good. Doesn't matter. As long as there's discussion about, for instance, hiring your first salesperson. Great. It's a great discussion.
Absolutely.
Marketing. Your database. These are some of the topics I'm talking about. So I think it's a brilliant idea. I don't think it's been executed well as they've grown, but that's a whole other story. But it doesn't matter. In Delaware, I've got a young buck who's It's doubled the size of it in 6 months,
Cool.
Very cool.
helping my daughter out. So
There you go.
yeah, it's all good. So that's that. Now, where were we?
We digressed, but that's okay.
That was not a digression. That was actually pretty good.
All right. So, to me, it's maintaining some form of marketing. I think, as we get more involved in the business, it changes. It certainly changed for me. But to me, the networking piece of it does not end. To Tom's point, like how many meetings now? It's still the same. It never ceases to amaze me that I do the same things I did many years ago.
Mm-hmm. I think what happens as you evolve in this business is that networking never stops. Does it have to be always that you're going to something labeled as a networking event? Maybe not. I think my tendency right now is to go to a little more of the informal and focused venues. It's like, I throw a lot of stuff on my calendar and look at it and say, okay, A, can I go? B, do I want to go? And C, who's going to be there?
Yeah.
And if the answers are maybe not so much, where before I would have gotten in the car and driven an hour to go, maybe not so much now.
Yeah. In the early days, there wasn't a fundraising dinner.
Right.
I don't know. And I wore out some suits and a tuxedo going to all these things. I think that was very important again, but then again, near 20 years ago, I had a lot more energy to do that. I still go to a handful of them a year, but not a handful of them a month.
Right.
Like I used to.
Right.
And those are valuable also because you get put at a table maybe with a bank. I would specifically not be put at a table. I would ask to be put at a table, whatever table needed people to sit at. So that was my way of meeting new people at these events, even though I saw a bunch of people I knew, and still do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last event I went with Angie, it cost me $7,500 for an Alaska cruise. So,
whoa!
So that's why I don't go to these things.
Those silent auctions will kill you.
Oh, good God. Are you kidding me?
So Alan, I looked it up since I am structured. I'm averaging 2.6 networking events a week to your point. And
2.6.
Yeah, you know me. I'm structured 2.6. My face-to-face meetings were 2.4.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of the mix. Facilitations are separate and distinct. Those are just, I do solicitations and networking. That's my marketing to get the face-to-face meetings. And I get 2.5 a week face-to-face meetings. So I still track it after all these years. And when I don't do it, I don't get the meetings. It's funny.
Yeah.
As Phil, you're saying, hey, I stopped going to some of the networking events. It's funny, and it does change because I used to go looking for cards right out of Fast Start. Now, like you, Alan, I'm quite well known. So quite simply, I say, how might I be able to help you? Which is the same thing you're saying. How might I be able to help you is a great way to meet with folks. So it just naturally happens after so much time.
The hard part for me was in the times, and I've been there on and off, when those 10 meetings a week were all facilitations or coaching.
Yeah.
Clients. And I've been there. And it's like all of a sudden it ends and I got to start again. So I start again.
Yeah.
Because, there's a limit. I would say 15 years ago, I was probably working 60 hours a week if you added all the dinners and everything. So now I'm not going to work. I don't want to work 60 hours a week.
No, me either.
So I don't. So I work 30, 40 hours a week. I'm good. But, Tommy, I still think it's important. I'm glad you still measure it. I don't measure it, but there's rarely a day when I'm not back and forth from this office 5 times.
Yeah.
That's a lunch.
That's all.
It's a cup of coffee. It's a meeting. It's another networking event. So I don't have any down days. I can tell you that. So
Mm,
if I
Yeah, the
measured it,
issue is activities equal results. So it's what your 10 were activities, structured activities, meetings,
Right.
facilitations, face-to-face networking.
yeah, it was all of that, you know, it was all of that, you know. But, and one of the things that I've done the last couple of years that's paid off, I've paid a lot more attention to the people I've worked with. And this is to Linda's point. I do want to mention this because it's blossoming in a big way where I'm running mastermind groups of my clients. And, you know, there was a client of mine who insisted I do it. I think it was 7 years ago, but I love it. I love it. So I solicit former clients that they want to do something different than speaking to me once a month on the phone. They want something more than that. So how about getting together with a group of like-minded business owners and really hash things out from a mastermind standpoint? So I started a second one 3 months ago, and my goal for 2019 is to start a third one.
Do you charge for these?
You're darn right I do.
you bet your boots.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I do charge for it, and it's a good money maker. So it's a once a month meeting, 2 hours. I have one tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact. And, you know, you have between, I've had as low as 3 people in the group and as many as 7. I don't want any more than 7 in the group.
Alan, are they as structured as my definition of a mastermind group?
I don't know if I can tell you what we do. We say hello to each other and we dive right into the pool. We dive into the pool by going around the room and sharing the results of their goals that they set out to achieve in the prior month.
Okay.
Now, some of them are personal. Most of them are professional.
Right.
They share that. A little bit of discussion. Some of the other participants might ask if something wasn't done, why not? So that takes, I would say, a good half hour, not longer. And after that, the bulk of the meeting then is the mastermind, and people come with issues. We do have electronics where we are, so people can throw things onto the board, you know, onto the TV, so we can see a spreadsheet if we need to, a marketing idea, you know, a P&L. I mean, people are wide open, okay? So we do some things that aren't done, you know, in a leadership development process.
Right.
But all these people have been through the leadership development process. So they know how to talk about a dream inventory. They know how to talk about a goal planning sheet. And believe me, when someone's having trouble achieving a goal, someone will say, I don't even have to say it. Well, did you put it on a goal planning sheet? So everyone speaks the same language.
Yeah.
And at the end of the meeting, they create their goals for the coming month.
Okay.
Now, in between the monthly meeting, I have a half-hour phone call with them.
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
Okay.
Half-hour phone call. And I don't know, very few of those calls last a half an hour. Some do. Depends on the participant. And sometimes they'll call and say, I'm good. Everything's good. All right. That is to make sure that they're on track toward achieving their goals.
Yeah.
And the bottom line, by doing this, I get goosebumps at these meetings because what they achieve is just, it's brilliant. And they get to be a real board of directors for each other. And sometimes I wonder, you know, the value I bring to the table is simply facilitating the meeting.
Right.
And the coaching call in the middle of the month.
Yeah.
But that's the way of also keeping up with clients, maintaining business with them so I don't have to solicit more clients. But those clients in the mastermind group are my greatest source of new clients.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In fact, one of the guys from my original mastermind group came when I had an informational meeting for the second mastermind group and literally sold it for me.
I love it when that happens.
He shared what he had accomplished and why he accomplished it and why it was important, you know, and I had 7 people in the new group.
Wow. How much do you charge for these things?
$4,000 a year.
Oh, yearly.
Not a lot of money for them, but for me, 28 grand, you know, it takes me an hour a month, you know, maybe some phone calls that last a couple hours. So maybe 3 hours a month for 28 grand, that'll work. Because I don't have any preparation time.
Right.
Other
Just
than
gotta show up.
Other than creating the data, yeah, other than showing up.
Right.
So it's pretty easy. So I'm going to do a third one this year.
So, Alan, question.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I really like it. I am part of a chamber, and I'm actually chairing a business owner dialogue group. We do a similar thing. We come together once a month, and we basically discuss. You can't become a member unless you are really committed. So it's not like, well, let me just come in for a while and let's see this before I become a member. You can't go to the meeting until you're committing and sign up for a year. So that's really good. But the agenda is somewhat different in the sense that we have 2 business owners that kind of present the issues that they're dealing with and do a presentation. Then we go around the room and come up with ideas. So I wondered, introducing this whole idea of setting monthly goals. Because I mean, getting to go with a group where you are now and charging them $4,000 a year, I don't think I'm ready for that yet, but I could see where we would bring that in, and I could get them through the whole group through a goal setting seminar. So they learn how to do that. And then from that point on say, hey, instead of doing 2 companies a month, we do 1. And we're going to spend an hour on, or half an hour on talking about each other's goals. That sounds like a winnable thing.
It is. You know, again, what led me to it was one of my clients wanting more from me. I want to get involved with other business owners, not just one-on-one with you. It's, it's someone I had coached for 10 years, 12 years. But they all have something in common. Remember, they've all gone through our process.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple times. I would say most of them have gone through strategic planning with me for their businesses, Harry. And that's also part of this, is that we know we don't cover that in the monthly meeting, but that's additional business for me. Most of these people, I'm doing some sort of strategic planning work in the year also for additional fee.
Yeah.
Some of them have me work with their employees, assessments. I mean, there's a lot that goes here. But for me, Harry, I've had one time the group decided they wanted me to have a certain individual we all knew in the group who owns a very nice business, even though they hadn't been through the process. So I let them do that.
Ooh. How'd that work for you?
Oh, he lasted 6 months. They dumped him.
Yeah.
But by the way, the group, when they take a new person on, for whatever reason, they have to unanimously agree that that person is okay. I mean, they're discussing numbers, everything. So it depends. I would say, Harry, depends on how deep you want to get involved.
Yeah, and that's really in our group as well, is when a new member presents itself, it's usually presented by one of the members or by the CEO of the chamber and says, this particular person I think would be a great fit for your group.
Yes.
And then that person, their resume in essence, get introduced to the group and we discuss among each other, and a couple of us will reach out to the person and have an interview. And only then will we accept. So we have sort of that same thing. But I think what you're saying is, though, and Linda kind of pointed it out, how did it work out? So if they've not gone through the leadership process, it may not quite work as well. So
they're not experts in goal setting and goal accomplishment.
Right.
But
And-
I mean, I thought it might be a great way to start.
Yes.
But
No.
Harry, there's something that you might be able to do with the group, even if they haven't been through a leadership process, a goal setting process. You know, maybe you worry about that down the line. But in my mastermind group, which is people, you know, who are in the our network,
Right.
each month we have accountabilities.
Yep.
You know, which is goal setting. Of course it is.
Yep.
But it's not called that. So you have accountabilities. It's like, what are you going to do by this time next month?
Right.
To Alan's point, it could be business related. It could be personal.
Right.
You know, something that you've got to get off the stick on. You know, for your own personal stuff.
Yeah.
So you might be able to introduce that to them.
Yep.
And it just holds them accountable. So when you get together the following month, maybe you have one, let's call it a spotlight, because that's what we call it in the mastermind group.
Yeah.
Maybe you only have one spotlight, and then part of the time is devoted to, you know, Harry, you know, your accountabilities for last month were 1, 2, 3, or however many. you had.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm part of a mastermind group now too, and it's really working well.
Good.
So I have the experience, and I can see introducing that. But Alan got me to that idea, and obviously, you know, I see how he developed that. I think that's a great idea, and I'm looking at how could I work on something that's already going, right?
Right.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, and then the strategic planning part is interesting, especially the beginning of a year, end of the year. People are talking about their missions for the coming year. So a lot of times I help them with that. You know, we've done visioning as part of the group. When someone says, hey, I have this vision. What do you guys think? We've changed things. It's just, it's a really cool thing. You know, I've been in plenty of mastermind groups, but generally it's been, you know, other coaches. It's been through our
Right.
network, and this tops it. I mean, I see what
Really?
they accomplish. Yeah. And it's having someone who's not in the group. I'm not in the group. We do not talk about my business at all.
Okay.
It-
You simply facilitate.
simply facilitate. I think that's a very important piece. I've been in ones with, you know, our brethren, and we're rotating being the facilitator. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's just not. You know, no offense, but I mean, this is something that to me is kicked up in a notch. I know Jerry Fonz and I did it almost at the same time. We talked about it, so he does the same thing. But to me, it's going to be the way I, you know, go into the sunset. You know, I've got plenty of clients, and just gathering them all together, you know, to work together. To maintain.
That's really interesting, your comment, Alan, about the you know, the coaches all together in a mastermind. I'm in one, and we've been doing it about 2 years, and I'm starting to get a little bit hesitant or frustrated with it a little bit, just because of I don't know, that it's not, there's something not completely gelling.
You don't have an outside arbiter there, do you?
No,
That's
that's one of them.
It-
That's one of it.
to
Yeah.
me. You know how I can relate that? It's like a company doing a strategic plan on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a value in that outside facilitator. You know, and that's what I bring. And, you know, for those of you who know me, you know, when I was going through the BS with my eye, you know, there was a time when I had a couple surgeries back to back, and I couldn't do a meeting of the group, and I contacted them. And I said, you know, I want to, you know, I'm going to give you guys all back money for that month. And they all said the same thing. Absolutely not. If you miss 3 months, doesn't matter. You know, that's how valuable this is. You know, I could raise the rate and it doesn't matter. They'll do it, you know, as long as they have their businesses, which most of them are younger than me. In fact, they're all a lot younger than me.
I'm not even going to go there.
By design, stop it. You know, so to me, that's more marketing. You know, I think a lot of us miss the marketing to our current clients. And we all know that. We teach that. We teach sales. It's much easier to market to current customers than to new ones.
Right.
And I don't think we've done a good job of it.
Yeah, one of the things I've put into practice over the past couple of years is come the first of the year, I send a letter, snail mail, to any client I've ever worked with and just say, you know, hope you had a great 2018 and you're looking forward to 2019. You know, it's like, I don't say it in these words, but I never lose a client. I mean, you know, I always care about you. And if I read something about you or your business, I'm going to send you a note. But it's just kind of those touch points. You know, if there's anything I can do to help you in the coming year,
Love it.
I'm happy to do that. But just even folks that I may not have heard from for 5 years.
No, I do the same. I do very similar, Linda. I've
Yeah.
always sent out a Happy New Year email, an individualized email.
Yes.
This year, because one of my newer clients from a Master Networks vice president of a chapter, the Tchotchke lady who's had a huge business for 25 years. I mean, they have machines that do T-shirts. I mean, this is not just your normal shop. They do mega signs and everything. And so I said, you know, I'm going to give her some business. So I bought a gift, a Happy New Year gift for my clients that, and Tommy, it's, you know, what I'm doing is creating meetings.
Yep.
And I've got something for you. So I've been very busy the last few weeks and I still have a lot more to give out. So it's more than Happy New Year already. But it's a nice little, you know, wine tote, you know, and I'll give it to them. Hey,
Absolutely.
that's it. And it has, you know, a nice little logo, you know, Coach logo on the front and bingo. That's it.
So do you specifically set up a meeting to hand those out, or do you drop in or both?
Both, depending on the client, depending on where I am, you know, it's awesome. So, you know, people appreciate it. It's a little tiny gesture, but again, I've never done that other than my annual New Year's email. I thought this would be a little bit better.
Were these to current clients?
Current clients.
Okay.
And I very smartly gave some of them out at Master Network meetings in front of a whole bunch of potential clients.
Ooh, you devil, you.
Young wise ass.
You
How do I
devil.
get one of those things?
Yeah.
Wow. Let me tell you how you can get one of those. No, it's all good. So, you know, but I was thinking, you know, when Gerard asked me to do this, I was thinking about, you know, personality types and how do you market. And I do think it's easier for introverts these days to market online. You know, LinkedIn's a great way, you know, but you have to be very diligent at that, you know.
But here's the thing, Alan, that, you know, obviously, you know, we've been in the network for 15 years. And when we were the new kids on the block, it was always very intriguing to me to sit at a power summit or whatever we used to call it and just look around the room. The diversity of personalities was astounding.
Still is.
Well, it still is. And I would sit there and, you know, and look around and go, wow, you know, I had trouble understanding how person A could be successful because they didn't fit what at that time was the mold I had in my head. Well, I got over that, obviously. You know, Bob has this phrase that says, one blue jay finds another blue jay. And I finally came to the conclusion that there is business for every type of person. You know, if you don't have to fit a certain mold to be successful in this business, because there are different types of business and people that are attracted to different personalities.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, we talked about that a long time ago. It's like you look around the room and you go, oh my God, you know, there's introverts and there's various there's, you know, a plethora of personalities, God knows, not just us folks who make the most noise.
Hey, there's enough interesting personalities just on this phone call.
Well, that's true. That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. But I think that's important to note, you know? I mean, there's folks that I go, and yet they are being successful in this business because they are seeking out people that are a good fit for them. I mean, I
Yes.
think that's the bottom line.
Yes. And also think about, we all don't do the same thing.
Right.
We all gravitate to different, not just processes, but the type of clients we want to work with. One of the things I think is really cool that was introduced to me a number of years ago is really creating an avatar. Who is the ultimate person? Can you describe the person that you want to work with every day? To the point, is it male, female, 25 years old, 60 years old, owns a business, doesn't own a business? What does that person look like? Think about, the people you worked with that you really enjoy working with.
Right.
Those are the people in my mastermind groups. I mean, it's a pleasure to get together with them. I love it. Like tomorrow morning, I'll be in my glory. And all I'm doing is sitting there listening. Or maybe saying, all right, it's time's up, we haven't heard from you. Nothing more than that. So gather around the people that you like. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that, because it makes it a lot different. That was about 7 or 8 years ago for me that I did that. And I realized that I like working with young entrepreneurs. And a lot of my business was not working with young entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Alan, you talked about starting a third mastermind group. Is it going to be comprised also of your clients?
Yes.
Okay. You've not tried putting one together of people who maybe were in your master network group, but not your clients?
I've thought about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, it's only January. I have until December to do it, which means I'll probably start this around October.
Right.
Because I'm a tremendous procrastinator, but I always get my goals done. So I will get it done, but might be at the end of the year.
All right.
I'm still bedding in the second group. They started in October. And it takes about a year for these groups to gel.
To get legs, yeah.
But they've already done some things that have freaked them out. Like the one guy who owns this huge roofing company, he hadn't taken his wife on a vacation, and it just came up in the conversation. He goes, that's it. She's wanted to go to Boston. We've never been to Boston. I'm going to Boston by the next time we met. And he made such a big deal of it. He was emailing everyone, asking them where he should go and this. And he took his wife to Boston for 5 days. And it was awesome. These things, he wouldn't have gone to Boston if we didn't have this meeting.
I hope it was not in January.
It's -3 in Boston right now.
I know. Tell me
Well,
about
it's not a whole lot hotter here. I know. No, things like that. Or one guy heard someone else talking about a system they use to manage their projects. He had been looking for one for 5 years.
Oh,
Guess
geez.
what? He finds this thing. It saves him like 50 grand a year. One meeting, like 10 minutes. You don't know what's going to happen until you put people together.
Got a couple more minutes, Alan, if you want to wrap up with some amazing inspirational thought that comes completely out of left field that will make everybody's heart stop and wrap this call up beautifully. Go.
What if we had a day dedicated to Martin Luther King Jr.? I think that'd be great.
There you go.
And there it is. But any last questions?
No, good ideas. I like it.
Uh-huh.
Am I going to see all of you at the end of next month?
Barring blizzards, we'll be there.
It doesn't snow in February in Reading.
I know. Tammy said that. Yeah.
I may bring the snow with me, though.
No, don't do that. Oh, God, don't do that.
Well, what's really cool is you guys will be, you'll get to meet my son-in-law, because he and I are
Cool.
doing together. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
We will be, Bob and I will be there.
Sounds great, guys. Anything else, Gerard?
No, you did great. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Next call 2 weeks from today.
It looks like you need some